store and located in downtown Ocala. If you have legal issues, don't go it alone. Call 352-732-7218. Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland, helping protect your liberties every day.
You know what you want to do in retirement, but do you know how to get there? Tune in to Coasting into Retirement with Gary Marriage of Nature Coast Financial Advisors, Sunday mornings at 8 to get answers to your retirement planning questions. Plan today so you can do the things you've always dreamt about doing in retirement. Listen Sunday mornings at 8 to Coasting into Retirement with Gary Marriage of Nature Coast Financial Advisors.
Our firm offers insurance services.
Celebrity Soul Food flagship restaurant is now here in Ocala. Best-in-class service and legendary recipes. You'll be elevated with a classy design in this 3,800 square foot restaurant with a menu that has scratch-made dishes prepared with a VIP experience for every guest. Located at 2237 Southwest 19th Avenue, right on Easy Street. Celebrity Soul Food. This is food with soul.
Are you wasting time boxing up packages and going to the post office or the UPS store? Are you tired of not knowing what you'll pay when you get there? Just Ship offers pickup service and flat rate packaging and postage rates, which takes the guesswork out of shipping while saving you time and money. So quit wasting valuable time and money. Call or text Just Ship at 352-234-3840. That's 352-234-3840. Just Shipped.
What you need is RoofMax. RoofMax is a revolutionary green roofing solution that can save you $10,000 or more by greatly extending the life of your existing roof. Here's how it works. Asphalt roof shingles have essential oils to keep them flexible and waterproof. Over time, this oil dries out, causing your roof to become brittle and slowly break apart. A RoofMax treatment saturates your roof with millions of microbeads, restoring flexibility and continued waterproof protection. It's like a skin moisturizer for asphalt shingles. RoofMax treatments are guaranteed for 5 years, and repeating treatments can extend your roof's life for up to 15 years for a fraction of the cost of replacement. RoofMax uses satellite measurement software to provide a hassle-free, contact-free price quote over the phone in under 5 minutes. No in-person house call required. Get your instant quote by calling 352-639-2777. That's 352-639-2777.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks on a Wednesday, an overcast, cloudy Wednesday, here at the WOCA studios, just off the runway at the Ocala International Airport in the old Shelter Terminal. John McCloud, former city councilman, joins us for a few more minutes. This terminal here, were you part of the voting that changed and okayed the building of the new terminal?
Yes, I believe so.
So without you voting on council, we wouldn't have a radio station here.
I'm glad we have a radio
There you
station.
go, see, so there's something that you voted for that we're okay with.
The view's a lot better. And
Views a lot, although I missed my light pole.
Oh, your light pole.
And not because that was a particularly nice-looking pole or anything. I just missed about once or twice a week, somebody walked right into it. Bam! On their cell phone, not paying attention, walked right into the light pole. It was humorous for me. That,
Yeah, the mall was getting a little rough, so.
Yeah, that shooting where the 21-year-old and the 17-year-old was shot, they were in the parking spot, one parking spot over from where I parked every morning. That's all I needed. That was enough for me to be glad we're here.
I would have hated for your little shiny Cadillac to get shot.
I would have hated for me to get shot. Okay. We talk about, before we went to break, we were talking about the new council members coming on, and that Sue Mosley brought this up when she was on with us earlier, that they get there and they think they got all these grandiose ideas. They say on the campaign trail they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, and then they get there and the reality sets in. Tell us a little bit about the experience of going from campaigning to now when you get sworn in, a whole different ballgame happens.
Sue is exactly right, and to really The learning curves, I would say a minimum of 8 months.
So almost 3/4 of a year.
Yeah. If somebody tells you any different, I just don't see how, because you don't know where everything is.
No. And you don't know how much work goes into this.
Can you drive to water treatment plant number 2? Can you drive to 3? Can you drive to 1?
And you don't know. Plus, plus, city staff gives you this to read. City staff gives you this to
Right.
read. You know, you're not making any money.
You know, when I first came on, it was just about that time period where the whole thing about getting the Yankees minor league baseball team up.
Yes.
Now, it might have been a little premature to do it at that time because we were still coming out of the recession.
Certainly.
But I still think it would have been a great idea because we have the population with the villages and the retirement communities.
There'd have been 2,000 to 3,000 people at every game.
On 200 and in Citrus County, I think it would have been a huge draw.
Yes.
Now that being
I agree with you.
That being said,
Bass Pro Shop would have been there too.
that's right. Junior council member, you know, staff is feeding you. That staff is no longer here. Staff is feeding you a bunch of your information. They're telling you they've communicated with people on the county commission. Not exactly.
They'd communicated with Dr. Lee Niblock.
And he did not communicate.
No,
very
because he
well.
thought there was no way the city could pull off the negotiation.
So that left myself and the rest of the council in a pretty bad position.
And you were a junior councilman then?
Yeah.
Or a council person.
I was
sorry.
a council person.
Council person, sorry.
I had
council person.
figured it out. Just councilman. I'm not getting into all that. But it was a pretty tough time because again, you can't. Because of the Sunshine Law, you can't communicate with other council members unless you're in a public meeting. Okay. Well, there was a gag order, or we couldn't talk in a public meeting because the Yankees had basically
said we need to keep this under hat.
Yeah. So now we're only in closed door meetings, and that it was just kind of a mess, and it put us in a bad position.
But that was one of those things that was a learning curve for you.
Sure.
I mean, I know that when you first come on council, I don't think anybody that's coming on council understands all the zoning requirements.
No.
And doesn't, I'm Barry Mansfield. I'm glad Barry won. If I'd have been in the city, I'd have voted for Barry. But Barry he campaigned on. I work with the city on a daily basis through permitting and everything. I know what's needed. No, you don't. There's a lot more that goes into it than just working with city on permitting and everything. And he probably knows a lot of the zoning stuff, but there's still other things that I bet he doesn't have a grasp of.
Sure, and Barry's a very smart guy.
Yeah, very.
So his learning curve may be a little quicker than everybody else, but for the most part, it can really be difficult because there's just things you just don't know.
How important is it, or how helpful is it? I don't know important is the right word, but how helpful is it going to be to the incoming freshman council members that Jim Hilty's learning curve is going to be, get my chair situated to the right height and everything, because he's already had that learning curve because he's already been a councilman.
He will be the longest serving council member the day he takes office.
The day he takes office, he will have more experience on council than anybody else on the council.
It'll be vastly important.
I think that'll be without. I thought if he had 4 brand new council members, it could have been a little loosey goosey for a while up at the city.
Now, if obviously Jim's going to be there, and if Jay wins the runoff election, then you're pretty solid there.
Right.
You're pretty solid.
You have experience, and Irie, his learning curve's over. He's been there over a year now, so he's up to speed.
And Irie, his learning curve was the political side of it. His learning curve wasn't okay. Where is everything?
No, because he'd been a city employee for years.
Yeah, because he knew who to talk to.
Certainly.
I mean, half the problem is, you'll get a list of names, and I'll never forget. This is an actual meeting that happened. Matt Brower,
former city manager,
that I was the deciding vote to get rid of Mr. Brower. that we had a meeting, and before I took office, and just basically telling me, well, I'd like you to come through me before you ask any questions of any department heads. And my antenna started to go up day one with Mr. Brower, because, oh, you mean to tell me I'm not calling to tell them what to do, because that's not my job as a council member.
Right.
But if I want to call and I want to get information,
I'm not going through you first. No.
I'm not going through you.
No.
These kind of things actually happen. There's actually a power struggle sometimes between staff and council members. Not every group. When Mr. Zobler was here, he did, at least when I was on council, he did a fantastic job. Of communicating to us, and we could communicate with staff. We're not to call and give staff orders.
Right.
Some council members in the past, they thought their job was to call and give
John
orders.
Zobler worked for you.
Yes.
The city staff worked for John Zobler.
Exactly.
And he ran it that way.
There is a certain chain of command that needs to be followed.
Yes. Yeah. And I have no problem with that chain of command. I just think two people should be taken out of that chain of command. That's all. The fire chief and the chief of OEU.
I tend to agree with you with that. And it was the way it was originally set up, and it's a little, but I think at this point that probably, as big as the fire department is, and to where it was when this started.
And as big as the electric company is.
Yes.
The electric company, to me, the chief of police and the fire chief are very important because it's public safety, first responders. But to me, the guy that runs OEU, the person who runs OEU, is on equal, if not a little above ground, to those two. Because I know it's all about public service now, but a lot of money is generated from the long extension cords that extend all over the city to people's houses.
And how well that department is run or not run, how well the employees do their job reflects on the city of Ocala.
Of course it does.
And the overall purse strings. When we were in office.
We've just lost 11 linemen in the last, 12 months?
Yeah. I think,
and a lineman takes 7 years to bring up to speed.
I think 20-something employees overall. And that's difficult. It's.
I don't care who you are. That's difficult to overcome.
If we have a hurricane, we're in a mess. Now, and I'm sure there's been some contractors hired to replace that situation, but still, I've always been a big fan of having our employees to do our work within the city of Ocala.
Well, it's not just within the city of Ocala. I live in an area out by 326 and 25th Avenue or 36th Avenue. Mm-hmm. I live out in that area. When the lights go out at my house, city of Ocala comes and looks at the poles and decides where to throw the power back on or anything. I don't live in the city. I live in the county. But I operate on city power. And I think a lot of people, that's lost on a lot of people. OEU isn't just Ocala power for the city of Ocala. There are many people in the county who still get who pay money and get their electricity from OEU.
Sure, and there's also parts of southeast Ocala, the far southeast part of the city limits that get their power from Duke Energy. So
100%.
It's I don't understand why all that is. It's something that was set up years ago, but that's the case.
Do you think one of the first things, and I don't know that easy is the right word, but do you think one of the first things that this new council could undertake that would be, and I don't want to say easy, but would be an endeavor that could prove not as difficult as most, is shoring up the enclave issues? Because there's a lot of those. I mean, the fact that the shooting that happened at Cloud 9, that there was an issue of response time because Cloud 9's in the county, right in the middle of the city.
Right. There's several of them in that area.
Yes.
Not just. Yeah. Yes, they could take that up.
To me, that's a no-brainer. Those are easy. Those are things you could easily fix.
Well, you've got to have more than one willing participant.
Right.
So if the person doesn't want to be in the city, it's more difficult to force that.
I think annexation of the enclaves has to happen.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult though, because then you're going to get in a long legal battle.
With people that don't want to be in the city.
In a perfect world, and Red Oak Farm We didn't go to them. They came to us.
Right.
We want to be in the city limits. Okay, we'll put you in the city limits. Ultimately, this probably cost me 90-something votes, which I lost by. But they came to us. Yes, you can be in the city. Once they got in the city, we don't have a land designation for a horse farm.
No.
That the city
Because it's in the city.
It's in the city. So that's where that whole mess got started about, the city's against horses. Not true. We
just didn't have anything on the books about horses because horse farms aren't in the city.
We have OBS across the way, but that's not a horse farm. That is basically
It's a business.
track, a business, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it was quite confusing. But that's an example.
Yeah, that's one example. But my other example, the Cloud 9 area. Mm-hmm. There's no reason that should be in the county. There's no reason that little area of Ocala right there around Cloud 9. There's a couple streets back there that have some residential. There's no reason. I've dealt with this before, and I'll tell you, it was the smartest yet dumbest place that I've ever been in my life, and it's Valdosta, Georgia. In Valdosta, Georgia, in the center of Valdosta, Georgia, literally 2 blocks from the Valdosta City Hall, is another little city called Rimerton, and it's about 1 square mile. Right in the center of downtown Valdosta. To me, that's just dumb. It's in the middle of the city. It should be Valdosta. The reason it's done that way, and the reason it's never changed, is the people of Rimerton, the city council of Rimerton, have always made alcohol legal in Rimerton. So your restaurant, when I was working for Mellow Mushroom, we put the Mellow Mushroom in Rimerton, right in between City of Valdosta and the College of Valdosta State University, is Rimerton, Georgia. It's 1 square mile, and alcohol is legal in that 1 square mile. So that's why that city keeps its designation. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be its own city. It should be part of Valdosta. But there's reasonings behind it. I don't see any reasonings like that, any valid reasons like that, why that place that was Cloud 9 and the neighborhood behind it, why that's not the city.
Well, why don't you get on Mr. Pete Lee and talk about the enclaves?
I should get Pete. I bring Pete in here. Pete and I have be good radio.
Oh, Pete's
I need
good.
to bring Pete in. Pete's good.
Pete knows this, especially about that area too.
By the way, did you hear what happened to me?
What happened to you?
I got appointed to a board.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Hopefully it's an historical board because you do.
No, I'm on the Marion County Historical Commission already.
Okay.
I'm in my 5th year on that board.
Okay.
The same county commissioner, Michelle Stone, who I work at the privilege of Michelle Stone, put me on the litter task force.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you want to roll your window down and throw garbage out, don't do it in front of me.
I don't do that. I have a pet peeve about people throwing cigarette butts out.
But yeah, so it is one. I thought you were going to tell me get on one of these advisory boards with the city and change the whole enclave issue.
No, I don't think it's as simple as, hey, we just need to do the enclave.
No, of course it's not that
because
simple.
It's the legal process can be very expensive.
But I think it's time to start a serious conversation about it.
You can incentivize those people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
give them reasons to want to come to the city.
You give reason to come in, but a lot of people, they don't.
A lot of people don't want to pay city and county taxes.
Right. They get, yeah.
I understand that. But just for public safety's point, I think there's a need to close the enclaves.
Oh, one of the things that, we talked about.
There was a young man, supposedly, there are some people say a young man lost his life in a fire because of the enclave issue.
Right. Nobody should lose their life. But that's kind of a problem. But it's also a dispatching problem.
Certainly.
So.
And the only way you're going to ever get the enclave problem completely solved is you have to take the step that Jacksonville took in 1966. Just make the whole damn county the city. And that's never going to happen here.
No.
That's never going to happen here.
I'm sure our county commissioners would love that idea.
Oh, yeah, just where they were in charge of everything.
But as a city resident, as a lifelong city resident, I don't like that idea.
You're like 113th generation or something, aren't you?
We've probably beat most of the Indians here. But
I mean, your family first got here. I mean, I think they may have been they snuck on one of the boats into St. Augustine.
Some parts of them have been here well over 100 years, 150 years. But you know what? That gives me a little bit of knowledge of the place, but gives me no more right than the person that moved here yesterday. So.
And that's what I liked about this election. One of my favorite people in this election, even though he didn't do well in it, was Alex Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
He was running in District 4. He's a transplant, only been here 2.5 years. But he thought this is his forever home now. His wife and children. He wants to raise his kids here and everything. And he thought, if I'm going to raise my kids here, I want to get involved.
Well,
And a city councilman who you served with, Daniel Owen, he said it famously to Buddy Martin when they voted to rescind. They were going to close the Marion Theater.
Mm-hmm. Then
they had an emergency. They went and had another vote to no, we're not going to close the Marion Theater. We'll leave it open because you guys said you were. And Daniel, after they voted, you weren't on council yet. After they voted, Daniel looked at Buddy and goes, now what are you going to do? Because the easy part's done. We voted to leave the Marion Theater open. What are you going to do to keep it open? What are you going to do? Get engaged. And at least Alex Lopez got it. Curtis Jones, who I think, to me, was the most breath of fresh air running, at least he got engaged.
Well, I'd like to say this, too. I admire everybody that stuck their neck out and ran for election.
15 people.
Now, they care about Ocala, every single one. Whether you agree with them or not, people don't do that for the wrong reasons.
No.
I mean, this is not some high-paying job. So you're sticking your head out. You're sticking your family's name out there. And it can be tough because the political process here in Marion County has got a little bit too much of the let's send money to a PAC, and the PAC attacks people in Ocala.
And then you can say it wasn't me, it was the PAC.
Yeah, it was the PAC. Well, I didn't mean them to do it like that. I'm just not a big fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, here's the thing about small town politics, and it's something I know from living in South Georgia and now moving here, is
that's your 15th South Georgia.
17th, but still, who's counting?
Yeah,
Who's counting?
And you know I can't stand the place.
Well, you know where I'm from. What part of South Georgia I'm from?
Does it matter?
Jacksonville.
Well.
So, largest Georgia touchdown club in the country is in that godforsaken city of Jacksonville.
Talking about an enclave.
But, yeah. But at least I lost my train of where we were going with that.
Yeah, I don't know what you were going to say.
I was going to say something very profound, too. Probably not, but, small town. The thing I know about small towns is these races have been run and everything, and people have won. Here's what people don't understand. If you've never been on council, you don't understand what's about to happen. You make a decision that somebody doesn't like. If that person runs into your wife before they run into you, she's going to hear about it.
Try making a decision your wife doesn't agree with.
Oh, exactly.
And trust me.
And your wife, by the way, is a business owner in town.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been lectured many times about, I don't know as much about downtown as her, and she's right to a degree. And we've had that discussion. But, a lot of times, you vote a certain way, and half the people like what you voted, the other half don't like what you voted.
But my point of that is, they're not afraid to stop your family members in Publix or in CVS or at the downtown market or at Friday night art walk and say, your husband voted or your wife voted this way, and here's the problem with it. And they'll confront your kids. They'll confront your wives and husbands. The voter doesn't care.
You'll understand that I was teeing off in a golf tournament, and literally on the first tee, big golf tournament,
right.
One of the biggest in town. You know which one I'm talking about.
I do know the one you're talking about.
And one of the guys that's playing in the golf tournament, the group behind me, decides he wants to start a discussion because he thinks there's been an illegal bid. And I said, number one, I can't talk to you about this right now.
And number two, I'm about to play golf.
And I'm about to play golf. But I'll talk to you at the right time and place. But yeah, that happens.
That's part of what I don't think the incoming people that have never served before realize that it's going to happen. And the reason I think that's very important for one council member, one could-be council member in particular, is I think this one person running for office has a tendency to be a little bit of a hothead. And if you're a hothead, City council ain't for you.
It's not a good. I mean, another example of being an experienced council member is a non-experienced council member. I look at the situation with the garbage vehicles. They just had an article in the paper a month or so ago.
You mean the electrical ones versus the diesel ones?
The electrical ones that are built in China.
Right. China.
As our former president used to say, China. But you know.
So they bought 5 of them with grant money and everything. They're only going to be used in the historical district and blah, 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 blah.
That's great. But they're not. They made them out to be some money-saving thing.
And they're not.
They're not. They're not. You could have bought 2 more.
Well, but no, John, they got grant money. So they're saying, no. They could have bought 2 more diesels.
Yeah, you and I had this discussion. 2 more of the new clean diesel.
Right. And it would have been less money.
We don't even know how. Who the hell's going to fix these things if they break down? You're going to send. They're assembled.
Send them over to Matt Gibbs at Sunrise Auto.
Oh, Matt can fix. I know Matt.
We'll send him over there. Well, he's on the show here every Tuesday. He does the show, so we'll send him to Matt Gibbs Sunrise Auto. He'll be able to fix them.
I got to call Matt. I got a problem, so I got to get in touch.
Oh, you got more than a problem.
I got a truck problem.
Yeah, you got problems, plural. Okay. Just say.
All right.
One is your golf game is not very good.
It doesn't have to be good. It just has to beat 3 or 4 people in my life.
That's why I quit betting with you. I was losing too much. I like the guy that I play with on a regular basis that I can beat, Ricky Beck. I like that. So
He's probably not listening to the show.
He never listens to the show.
But I will be more
but
than
you'll
happy.
be more than happy to remind him that I said.
I will.
Look, Beck money is good money. That's all I know.
He misses you.
I'm sure he does because he has to give me $10 every time he sees me. So I'm sure he does miss me. I'm sure he does. John, thanks for coming in and talking to us today.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks to everybody listening. Thanks to all our callers, all of our correspondents that checked in today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, right here on WOCA, The Source.